I'm Cady. I'm the C in WC Studio, and we're an architecture practice located here in Tacoma. Our office is actually in the building that you see there at the corner of 6th and Ainsworth, and we live there too. This size of building, say with 4 or 3 or 12 apartments or townhouses or condos, is often referred to as the missing middle in real estate development, like Brian mentioned. Regardless, though, if there's a nonprofit developer creating subsidized housing or a corporation doing market rate housing, most of this new housing takes the form of either standalone homes or large mid to high-rise buildings. So we're not seeing a lot of these small or medium multifamily buildings being developed as frequently. And as we've kind of been talking about already, this does have a lot to do with zoning, which has historically protected single family, which I don't like to use that term. I prefer the term standalone homes or detached homes, because I think family has a connotation that is emotional. So historically, zoning has protected these areas with standalone homes and limited multifamily development into small corridors of the city. The lack of this missing middle also reflects the low risk and reward potential of a building with just a handful of houses to sell or rent out. But we really believe the missing middle represents a sweet spot for neighborhood scale development with great affordability potential as well. So let's talk about money. Most of the development cost is made up of the cost of land, the dirt that the houses sit on, and then the cost of the construction, which comprises the materials and the labor. When the land cost can be split between multiple units of housing, that lowers the development cost per unit. And very simply, wood is less expensive to build with than other building materials such as concrete or steel. To support the weight of their additional stories and to build elevators and parking garages underneath, mid-rise and high-rise buildings require a lot more of these pricier materials and more skilled labor to install them. Missing middle homes, on the other hand, are more similar in construction to standalone homes and benefit from the shared land costs and lower construction costs. But soft costs, like permit fees, paying architects, engineers, and other consultants, can take a larger percentage of the budget for missing middle projects. They don't necessarily scale down just because they're smaller. This is why it can be a challenge to make missing middle projects pencil, meaning that their sale price would cover the investment plus profit, or the rental income would cover the ongoing loan payments and operating expenses. So to determine whether a project is a good investment, developers use a spreadsheet called a pro forma. And recently we tested a pro forma to find out that if we built 4 townhouses on a site, we would need to sell them for close to $450,000 each to cover just the development cost, no profits. But if we built 20 small apartments, including 4 of those to be set aside for households below 80% area median income, using that 30% metric that we've talked about earlier, this project could be profitable within 5 years. So as that example illustrates, making a project pencil often means building more smaller homes than fewer larger homes in order to achieve any level of affordability. Missing middle housing types generally are smaller than the average standalone home, and to compensate for having less square footage, design becomes really important. This not only means creating efficient floor plans and creative uses of space, but making indoor and outdoor environments that are really special and lovely to live in. So these are some photos of some projects we've designed. Some of them we own and some of them we don't. And we just find that they're quick to lease and slow to turn over, and we have near zero vacancy without even paying for a professional property management company. So that savings can be passed on to renters. Smaller homes are also more affordable to maintain and operate, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So where missing middle housing is located is really important too. It's ideal for infill sites. So And missing middle development is incremental, meaning that neighborhood change occurs more gradually. This is a photo of a block in the 6th Avenue mixed-use center. And so over the last 5 years, 20 new homes have been added without the removal or demolition of a single existing home. Missing middle projects fit into existing neighborhoods, creating a healthy mix of building vintages and character, as well as the density needed to support transit and local business. Because it takes more than sidewalks to make a neighborhood walkable, right? Walkability depends on having destinations like services, amenities, and jobs, and connections, transit to other neighborhoods and other job centers. The walkability of a neighborhood really impacts affordability, as Jacques mentioned in the first presentation, because families who are car dependent spend 25% of their income on transportation, compared to just 9% for those living in a walkable and area served by transit. So when housing and transportation costs added together are supposed to be below 45% of a household's income, we can see that we don't have 30% left over for housing. If we're going to continue to use that as our standard for affordability, we need to increase density, prioritize walkability, and access to transit. Utilities, another big part of a household budget. So energy efficiency of a home impacts affordability too. Without getting too technical about ratios of surface area to conditioned volume, meaning the area inside your home, your heating and cooling, missing middle homes are in a sweet spot here too for energy efficiency, just by sharing some, but not too much, of their enclosure, like their walls, floors, and ceilings, with their neighbors. Less exterior surface area reduces the energy loss through that envelope, but it can still take advantage of natural light and cross ventilation through windows and skylights on different walls to reduce energy use, more so than you can in a large apartment building with only one exposure. So this kind of brings us back to the Tacoma Affordable Housing Action Strategy, action number 1.8, that was written on the first slide. From our experience with 2 projects so far that we developed, we know that the feasibility of missing middle projects rests on razor-thin margins. So financial incentives like fee waivers and construction grants that are mentioned in that strategy plan really could move the needle on a project like this from feasible to infeasible. Especially if linked to energy efficient design and construction, these financial incentives could not only help missing middle developers, but be a benefit and support affordability for residents of these buildings into the future. Next, we would suggest expanding the multifamily tax exemption eligibility to all missing middle projects, whether or not they're located in a mixed-use center. Ultimately, allowing compatible missing middle housing in any residential zone and removing minimum parking requirements are necessary steps to correct course on the past land use policy that has resulted in sprawl and set us up for the affordability, climate, and congestion crises we face today. So that was the call to action for the planners and policymakers, but what I want to end on applies to anyone in this room. At first, our decision to become architect developers was more about getting a few built works into our portfolio and kickstart a new design business. But as a result of learning the development side of making buildings, we are now able to coach and mentor clients who may have no previous development experience. It's super exciting to see Tacomans from a variety of backgrounds with a property or an idea stepping up to invest in their neighborhoods and our city. Let's start reimagining who a developer is and what their motives are. Let's make developer a profession to aspire to in Tacoma, and let's see the power to make change is in our hands.